So, alrighty, guys. You guys ready to get going?
Ready.
Alrighty, guys. Hello, and thank you for coming back to another episode of the movie Rubric. I am Timothy McDaniel.
I'm Cole Wright.
And I'm Josh Glass.
And today we are going to be reviewing Violent Night. It was brought to my attention, actually, by one of my students who found the podcast, actually, and it got me thinking, and I think we've talked about it since, and it's a really good idea. We kind of dove headfirst into spoilers in the last few episodes, which means if you haven't seen the movies we're talking about, makes it a little difficult to listen to our podcast. So I would like to apologize for that. Today, we're going to be starting off the podcast with a spoiler-free discussion.
Just for you people that are late getting to the movies.
Yes. You really should be better about that, though.
I mean, the movie just came out 3 days ago.
3 days ago.
So if you're a real fan, you got a 3-day window.
And it's Christmas season. It's not like you have anything else going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like us three losers that prioritize going to movies.
I had nothing going on this past weekend.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Nothing
Definitely
at all.
not a show. Two
Yeah.
shows. So, before we even begin discussing this movie, there is something I need to discuss. If you bring children to an
my goodness.
if you bring children
we
to
have a bone to pick with you.
an R-rated movie, that is fine. You need to control them.
Yes.
It was 8:00 on a Friday night, and the theater was full of all adults and 11 junior high kids.
It was I wouldn't even give them junior
It
high.
wasn't junior high.
I think
I would say
the old
6th grade at max.
the oldest was junior high. I think there was one kid who looked like he could have been like in 7th grade.
Oh my gosh.
But some of those kids looked like they were 6 or 7. And if you are a parent who lets your kids go to R-rated movies, I'm not here to say anything on that. And I feel a little bad because it was like one mom who brought all these kids. So probably babysitting or taking people out for a birthday party. It is what it is. I'm not here.
Mom got duped.
She did. I'm not here to question your parenting. You can parent however you want. As long as you control your kids. They talked the whole
They
movie.
screamed
Oh
the
my
whole
gosh.
movie.
And they were right behind us too, which I
They
think
were.
made it twice as
They
bad.
filled up like the 2 rows behind us. I
Oh
think.
my
It
gosh.
was awful.
Though I didn't hear the first third of the movie. And
Oh.
I've done a couple old man things in my life. Like I feel myself getting older, like with each passing day because I just get grumpier. But I've never went to an attendant before to complain that kids were being allowed in a movie theater. I almost did,
Somebody else did for you.
Yes, right as I was about to go, I noticed that there was an attendant like standing near the kids in the hallway or like in the aisle, and I was like, thank goodness someone else went and complained for me.
Yeah.
So I don't have to feel like an old man.
It was obnoxious, to say the least.
The part that made me, I actually put this down as a dislike of the movie, even though it's nothing against the movie. The line that makes me more upset than anything, and I don't consider this a spoiler. At one point, Santa takes a sip of bourbon or whiskey, some sort of alcoholic drink, and then eats a Christmas cookie. And he makes an offhanded comment. He said, "Yeah, that pairs nicely." And this one kid cackles and screams and shouts twice in a row. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. To which his buddy, who because his buddy didn't get the joke.
10.
Yeah, his buddy goes, "I don't get it. What'd he say?" And the kid who's screaming goes, "I don't even know."
Oh my gosh.
I've never been more livid in a movie theater.
It was distracting.
I couldn't tell what was more entertaining, the movie or watching you just fuming. Just
Watching me want to turn around. I probably shouldn't say this because I'm a teacher, but I wanted to beat a child.
Oh, that may get you fired.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. I didn't.
You're gonna get canceled.
I restrained myself. But I was like this close to murder.
Yeah.
It
It was
bad.
rough.
you gotta be like me. I'm a psychopath who likes to watch someone else just squirming, and you got Tyler and Josh over there they're just fuming.
I think I leaned over to Cole at one point and said, "This is the most obnoxious movie theater I've ever been
You just
in."
gotta tune it out and enjoy the movie.
Because at one point it wasn't even the kids. There was a couple of adults back behind me
Yeah.
that were talking loud
There
through
was-
the movie.
There was a couple.
And not that this is like a super serious movie,
Oh no.
I
but
still want to hear
you
it.
still want to be able to hear the dialogue.
Yeah. There was a couple. I mean like a romantically involved couple that anytime I would turn around to look at these kids, I saw them like aggressively making out.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure I could hear it at
Pretty
one
sure they were
point
still making out when the movie ended.
when we left. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes,
pretty sure I could
Violent Night.
I
hear
saw
them
that,
making out during the movie.
Violent Night, the most romantic of movies.
It was super romantic. Cool.
Man, I just had to get that off my chest. I'm still fuming about it 3 days later. I've not forgiven those children if I ever see them at a mall.
we saw him afterwards. Also, we got nervous. We saw.
Oh yeah, when we saw a large party at Applebee's.
Yeah. Like, is that them? Oh no.
Applebee's sponsor us.
Man, yeah, we got to be careful because this is twice now in a podcast we've told people we go to Applebee's, and if we get fans, they're going to start being like, okay, let's just hang out at Applebee's.
There's a ton of Applebee's, though.
There is. It's
that is true. Chain. But anyone who knows us, which, let's be honest, let's be real
most
here.
Most of the people that are listening to this
Most people listening to this podcast are friends and family. They're going to start camping out at Applebee's.
Yeah.
I did see
as long as they buy my food, I don't care if they camp out.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I don't know if it was a VPN. I was looking at our analytics, which we have more listeners than I thought we would, honestly, for our first week and a half of being up.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys. One of our listeners, they could have had a VPN on, but was from Bulgaria. And I just thought to myself, I was like, if that's not a VPN, did they understand a word we said? Like, how did they find us?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Happened upon us.
Okay. Hey, let's talk about the movie. And real quick, like I said, this first part here, this first 5-10 minutes is going to be spoiler free. Thumbs up or down? Did you guys like it? Do you think audiences should go see this movie?
I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
Maybe 3 if I can sprout a third arm.
Just hold up your toe.
Yeah.
Hold up the big
toe.
Big toe
is an extra toe.
4.
Dude, you need a shower.
You're going to give all 4?
Yeah.
Wow.
All 4 thumbs. Wow. Yeah. Josh?
I'd give it a thumbs up. I would recommend you going to see it as long as you know what you're getting into.
Yeah. And that was going to be my caveat. Caviar. If that's going to be my caviar, is if you like violent movies, I mean, it's in the title.
Yeah.
Cheesy, gory movies. This is a hilariously fun, entertaining time.
Exactly.
For those who may not know, Violent Night, directed by Tommy Wirkola and starring David Harbour, is a new violent take on, the Christmas story, Santa Claus. In this one, Santa's a little bit of almost like kind of like a drunk, and he kind of hates Christmas, and he's thinking about quitting, And like I said, these are not
Santa's
spoilers.
in a dark time.
Yeah, he's like, the movie opens up on him at a bar.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because movies do the idea of like a drunk mall Santa all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that this was drunk real Santa.
Yeah. Meeting a drunk mall Santa.
Meeting a drunk mall Santa. Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being said, the movie, it cost roughly 20 million-ish to make, and it's already made that back. I think it's made 20.4 million in its first 3 days. Mm-hmm. Awesome for a movie of this caliber with, other than David Harbour, a almost no-named cast.
Yeah. I mean, even the director's really not even, I looked at his IMDb. There's not a lot out there that I even recognized.
Yeah. There was what is it, John with I cannot remember his name. The guy who played the villain.
John Leguizamo.
That's it. Mm-hmm. I can never say his last name. Sorry, John, if you're out there listening from Bulgaria. But yeah, other than him and David Harbour.
Yeah. John, I didn't realize he played Bruno in Encanto.
Yeah, he also was
he's the reason everybody has we don't talk about Bruno stuck in their head for the last year.
He also was in the last movie we went and saw. Yes, he was in the menu.
You should check that episode out if you haven't already.
Ooh, that was a nice plug.
Yes.
That was good. Put a link in the description.
Yeah.
So yeah, other than those two, like it's a no-name cast, and I thought they did a good job. There wasn't anyone that I thought was bad as an actor, even though it was like a super low budget. I don't want to say low effort, but mildly low effort movie.
Yeah, I mean, the writing wasn't super intense, so even if it wasn't a great actor, they didn't have big shoes to fill, like a huge, hard to read, hard to act script.
I mean, what is one of those movies? It's that you don't have to really pay attention much. It's a shut your brain off and enjoy the movie for a couple hours.
Very much, yeah.
And I think that the lack of writing, I don't want to say lack of writing, the simple story benefits that. You're not worried about how is this going to resolve. It's pretty apparent when the movie begins how it's going to end.
Yeah.
And I think that that's good. That's a strength, and it allows you, like Cole said, you just enjoy watching guys get stabbed through the eye by Christmas ornaments.
Yeah.
It's a good time.
The two writers, Pat Casey and Josh Miller, I looked at their list of credits as well. Most recently, they've done Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2, the two most recent new Sonic movies. I enjoyed both of those. And then other than that, mostly made for TV movies and miniseries. But they look like they work a lot as a duo.
Hey, so, kind of like D&D maybe.
Yeah.
And Tommy Wirkola, I looked up his, and he's directed nothing I've seen.
Yeah, the only one that I even maybe remember hearing about was the Hansel and Hansel and Gretel,
Yeah, like
the witch hunters.
Yeah. And I remember hearing about that
Yeah,
one.
I
but
don't think I ever saw it.
I didn't watch it. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone did.
No.
So it's kind of cool that this guy got the go ahead from Universal Pictures and a budget of $20 million, having done almost nothing. And I say that he has like 9 or 10 credits to his name, but I haven't seen any of them.
Yeah.
Maybe if we liked this one so much, we should go back and watch his previous works. Looks like he's done a lot of like B horror movies, which I think are pretty cool. So I guess that's really, honestly, like, I really want to start talking about the movie. I think we've sold it enough. Go see it if you haven't gone to see it. And with that, I want to dive in. You guys ready? Okay, spoiler warning. From here, we're going to talk about spoilers. I kind of said a minor one earlier, getting stabbed through the eye with the Christmas tree ornament, getting stabbed through the eye with a star.
And that was in the trailers, though.
That was in the
In
trailers.
the trailer, yeah. They revealed a lot in the trailer.
They really did.
But they still left a lot to be seen in the theater, too.
Oh, yeah. But, like, this movie was gory. It was gruesome, and I loved some of the deaths.
I did, too, yeah.
So, with that in mind, my first question here for you guys is, what was your favorite death? That's such a morbid Christmas movie take, but what was your favorite death in this movie?
It's a cop-out, but I think the last one.
Yeah.
When
that
he
one
just,
was
like, zips him up the chimney and spews blood like a fountain
That was
out of the
cool.
chimney.
While it's playing Christmas music, mind you.
While playing
like
yeah.
a symphonic Christmas song.
That was probably my favorite one.
That was
of
really
course,
good.
that's the crescendo of the whole. Like that's the climax of the whole
Peak.
movie right there. But I'd say that's probably my favorite.
I mean, mine it builds because it's kind of like you're on the edge of your seat. It's the one that made me cringe in the theater. Is the dang nail through the bottom of the through his chin.
The real life
Home Alone.
Home
Then then he gets out, and then the bowling ball right on the face.
Yeah, that was rough.
It's
Yeah.
I kind of forgot about that. I think my brain suppressed
That's
that
the
because
part-
it was just like, ugh.
that part I like. Normally I can handle stuff like that. That part I had to look away for a
Yeah.
second. I'm like, oh my goodness.
And I didn't like the little girl up until that scene. Like, she was okay.
She was not a great child actor.
No.
Like we said, writing
she had-
really didn't benefit her much.
She had the best line of the whole movie though.
Which was?
Skull Crusher.
Oh, that was good. At the very end,
Crusher.
Santa pulls out his ginormous, like, Viking hammer. She just,
It's
with
Thor hammer. Let's be honest. It's
Like
basically
Thor.
Thor.
Christmas in her eyes. Skull Crusher.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Brilliant.
No, but, like, I feel like most of the movie, and I'll just go ahead.
What
and-
was yours?
Oh, my favorite death. You're right. Thank you, Josh. Mine was when Santa casually grabs a rope in the shed, and while he's fighting people, just casually makes 2 nooses around the soldiers and then throws it into a snowblower
Yeah.
as the blades are turning, and they just slowly get dragged into it one by one.
That was pretty good.
That was mine.
It was.
And then
That whole scene there in the shed, the
That was
multiple
awesome.
deaths was great.
It
'Cause I don't
picking
remember
them
what
off.
song it was
Yeah.
that was playing, but it was like a newer Christmas song,
Yeah.
just like vibing in the background.
and it was like slightly acoustic, like it wasn't
Yeah.
heavy, like it was
It
a
was
really chill
hilarious.
Christmas song. That brings me to like one of my likes about this movie is it is definitely a Christmas movie. We're gonna do a Christmas movie tier list here in a little bit, and people argue whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not. It is. Get out of
Mhm.
here if you're wrong. But this movie is unapologetically not up for debate a Christmas movie. It's just a very gory,
Yeah.
violent one, and I love that about it.
Yeah, I mean Christmas songs throughout the entire score, overarching family feel good
Mhm.
feel, just mixed in with a whole lot of death.
It has a romance arc,
Mm-hmm.
a child going through divorce and her parents getting back together, a son having a estranged relationship with his mother and making amends for that. Like, it has it all.
Yeah, it does.
But in the weirdest way possible.
Yep.
Man.
It's even got a nativity scene at one point.
Yes.
that he hid $300 million in somehow.
And we also got to see a man get basically killed with baby Jesus.
Yeah.
That was a little, however your opinions on that may be.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever the dad picked up baby Jesus and started beating the guy over the back of the
Mhm.
head with it. No, I love how much of a Christmas movie it was, and it had the perfect amount of gore, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
The star through the eye, it got me because it's super gory, super gruesome, but then the guy's head's just on fire and like twinkling, and then Santa's laying on his chest talking in the
In the
walkie-talkie
walkie-talkie.
while the fire's still burning. It's like almost poetic at the same time. It's just hilarious.
The scene what made me the most grossed out about that is the same reason that made me grossed out with the scene that Cole mentioned. It's that the guy didn't die from the start of the eye. He walked around screaming and was about to keep fighting with a Christmas ornament sticking out of his face. Same thing with the nail on the ladder. The guy's stuck to the ladder screaming in agony, and his partner just walks over him to go up the ladder. But I love that he didn't die from that. You had to sit there and watch him suffer, and it's like that made me a little uncomfortable, but in a good way.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, Cole, what were some things you liked about this movie?
I mean, I thought just the entire feel of just that action movie gory feel kind of thing. I mean, where it didn't, I think they played into how ridiculous the premise is of the movie. The actors did, and they went over the top with it, and that's what that movie needed. They didn't need you to be serious during it. You were the overtop villain. You have Santa being completely bloodthirsty out there, and it worked out perfectly. I just like the whole premise of the movie. It's different. It could have been another generic Christmas movie. You could have had, here's Santa Claus. They could have done it without any violent night, death, whatever. Could have just made a regular Christmas movie, but no, this one stands out. Christmas Story, watch out. The 24-hour marathon's about to end. It's about to be Violent Night every year from here on out.
There are 2 Christmas movies that I watch every year, and it is A Christmas Story and Jingle All the Way. And I think I'm going to add this one to the list. I've got to watch Violent Night every year. Cole, you said bloodthirsty, and we were talking about it's definitely a Christmas movie. I mildly disagree with the bloodthirsty aspect because Santa gets almost like a redemption arc. It is revealed that Santa is a Nordic barbarian. He's killed thousands. He's pillaged. He's raped. He's not a good dude, but he's Santa to make amends for it.
Yeah.
And he kind of gets like that redemption where he kind of makes peace. And the little girl makes a comment along the lines of, maybe you could use all the bad stuff you did to do some good and like do some good killing.
Yeah.
And I'm getting like,
that like sparks his enthusiasm.
Yeah.
No, he
goes on a rampage.
He had that look in his eye. He was ready to kill. Did you not see The Shed?
I'm thinking of the scene shortly before The Shed where he is.
Whenever he got the spark was The Shed.
Yeah.
When his ring rolled across.
That's where the bloodthirst came.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the scene before that where he's patching himself up with a Christmas ornament. Like he's using the hook as a needle, and he takes off his shirt and he's got all these Nordic war tattoos,
scars, and wounds. Yeah.
That was funny.
And I think it's cool because David Harbour recently played a superhero, but in neither this one nor the superhero movie did they make him like bulk up a tremendous amount. Don't get me wrong. He's a muscular guy, but he's not like Hugh Jackman, Henry Cavill, these guys who just spend months and months and years trying to get like a Hollywood body. He just looks like a muscular man.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that when he played the Red Guardian and Black Widow, he kind of had that same body there too. He hasn't bulked up for any of his like action-y roles, and I actually kind of respect that because I feel like most of the strongest people I see are like construction workers and like they have a bit of a pudge,
blue collar hard workers,
and like I appreciate the like. It feels weird. I'm just sitting here thinking, oh, it's a realistic Santa body, realistic men proportions in an action movie. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, women, you guys definitely, there are very many unrealistic female expectations in Hollywood movies, but in superhero movies, especially, men, we're competing with, I can't compete with Ryan Reynolds.
No.
I can.
I got
Chris
a
Evans or
I got a Chris Farley body.
Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
Fat guy in a little coat. That's me.
Fat guy in a little coat. 100%. Another thing I liked about this movie, and I'm curious to see your guys' take on this and whether you like this or dislike this, is Santa doesn't hide his identity. He openly admits to being Santa at a bar, openly just rides through New York. He's not trying to hide.
Yeah, well, he realizes, the movie realizes that if somebody came up to you or me at a bar and said, I'm Santa,
nobody's going
to believe you.
Yeah.
So you don't have to hide it. Like, there's no need to.
But he hands her that present afterwards, and he goes, here you go, saves me a trip. And then gets on the roof and just takes off in broad moonlight. I almost said broad daylight. Takes off in broad moonlight. And then the scene that follows that where he throws up on her. That was good.
The whole theater went, ooh.
That was so funny.
Point, yeah.
But yeah, there's multiple times throughout this movie that he doesn't hide the fact he's Santa. And why would he?
Yeah.
Like, Christmas magic is explained in the best way in this movie that I've ever heard a movie explain Christmas magic.
just don't know how it works.
He doesn't know how it works. He's like, there's a bag.
You put your hand in, you get a present.
He makes a comment at one point. He's like, I just rub my nose and I go up chimneys. He doesn't know how it works. He was roped into this role. And I think that that's the best explanation for a Christmas movie I've ever seen as far as Santa's magic goes, is he doesn't know how it works.
It's one of my plot picking points, though, is that like what they didn't explain in the plot, they just said, it's Christmas magic. Like, how does this work? I don't know. It's Christmas magic.
Yeah,
like,
it's like
they didn't
force.
really go into detail.
So
And-
that's a negative for you?
yeah.
That was a positive for me.
I don't know. I guess it was like there wasn't any major plot holes, but like what they couldn't explain in realism by setting up a good plot line, they just said, that's Christmas magic. It happens.
Cole, I think you're about to say something. Did I cut you off?
It just kind of reminded me of like it's like a Star Wars movie where it's like, how did this happen? The Force did this.
See,
you can have this Force power now, or with Harry Potter, it's like, oh, here's this new spell that no one knew about until just now. So
yeah,
it literally is when you write yourself into a corner, that's what they would go to.
but I guess that's a negative for you, but that's a positive for me because there's no good movie or good way that you're going to explain Christmas magic. So why try? It was almost a fourth wall break. I almost feel like he was talking to the audience where it's like, how does this work? And he's like, I don't know. I just get drunk, eat cookies. Can we talk about how much he drinks and then drinks milk? That hurt my stomach.
Or the one point he poured out the milk and then poured liquor in the cup with the milk.
Yeah.
And it was like all
that
congealed
was
together.
disgusting. Yeah.
It wasn't good.
But like, there's no way you're going to explain Christmas magic well. So I enjoyed that they like just left it as it doesn't matter. It's a stupid Christmas movie. Like it doesn't matter how the magic works.
I can see that angle.
But well, like you said, like you just said, I can see it being a negative to some people. Some people want an explanation. Some people like myself, when we watch Star Wars, I want an explanation for why things happen. I guess it depends on what I'm wanting out of a movie.
Yeah.
Cole's got me. Cole's trying. For those of you who don't know, Cole loves to get me ranting about Star Wars. And
But we'll have a tier list at some point about the Star Wars movies, and there's one movie that will get you fired up, and that'll probably be the whole episode.
don't spoil it.
Oh,
Tune into
boy.
that episode when we
Yes.
do it to find
Wait
out.
until
You'll
that
have to wait and
episode.
see. Leave a prediction.
Yeah, but Cole is always trying to get me fired up, and I'm surprised. I expected him like the first episode to try and get me fired up about Star Wars.
Oh no, it's a slow burn.
Instead, he tried to get me fired up about anime, and it backfired on him because he admitted to liking anime.
Oh no, I like the good anime.
That's still
Good
anime.
anime.
The good liking good anime is
Yeah,
still.
not like good anime, unlike Attack on Titan.
Yeah, there it is again. There, Josh. We're gonna mute this man. We're just gonna continue this by ourselves. So I'm gonna turn it over to you, Josh. I'm gonna ask. So you mentioned that you didn't like that the Christmas magic wasn't explained well, and you mentioned continuity. What were some of your dislikes about this movie?
Let's see. The older lady, the mom, I don't know, her character just made me mad. I think that's just a personality trait of mine. I don't know. She was just not a good person. And I understand that's her character, but it just made me mad.
Made you mad?
The bad guys in the synopsis, they called them a team of mercenaries. They didn't seem like they had much weight behind them. Scrooge kind of had like somewhat of a backstory, like, oh, I've been mistreated as a child and it's all Santa's fault. But overall, it was just like, why are they here? What are they doing? And then the kill team or the extraction team, like, what was their turning point? Was it just the money? Like, you've worked for these people this long and $300 million is going to make you
It seems like
heel
that, yeah.
turn, you know? I don't know. There was just some writing issues that was kind of my least favorite parts. Overall, I enjoyed the movie a ton.
We got some pretty similar dislikes. I put that the villains are kind of jokes most of the time. None of them are super threatening ever, really.
Kind of like Home Alone villains.
Really. And which, I mean, this movie
They
was...
did pay homage to Home Alone a lot.
I think this movie was parodying Home Alone a little bit. So that's to be expected. The Kill Squad, they were probably my least favorite part of the movie as far as continuity goes. Now, this is a dumb action comedy, so I've got I call it my suspension of disbelief helmet. Depending on how stupid the movie is, I have bigger helmets. Like when I go watch Godzilla, which is about giant, kaiju fighting each other, my helmet's pretty big. When I go to watch like No Country for Old Men, which is a very serious grounded thing, my helmet's just a baseball cap. This one I went in with a pretty big helmet. But the Kill Squad, we find out is in on it the whole time. So why did they wait to come in till like an hour and a half into the siege.
Yeah.
If they were in on it, realistically speaking, the kill squad should have just rolled up and cornered the place. You didn't even have to have the infiltration. There was no need for the whole first third of the plot about them infiltrating this place to even happen if they had an in already.
Yeah.
Like, that was, to me, the only thing that I was like, that seems like a really big, like, huge hole that I had a hard time overlooking.
Yeah.
What were some of your dislikes, Cole?
So for me, my biggest dislike was when they would show like a kill or any sort of action thing. The camera seemed very zoomed in all the time, like, and very like just moving all over the place. Like, I get it; it's supposed to be like high, tense, fast paced action sequence. And I'm like, this is kind of just not cool to look at. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, this is kind of like scoot back a little bit, hold the camera still. I want to see what's happening. I can't tell what's going on most of the time.
But then you have to hire stunt coordinators and action coordinators and like have all these sorts of effects. Whereas it kind of goes back to like old like 90s action TV shows where you see the person start to throw the punch and then it quick cuts to the guy falling on the floor and like you just make it look like you connect. They did that a lot in this movie.
It's like, if you can still have the quick cuts and everything, just pull the camera back a little bit.
Yeah. I think that goes back to this movie was made dirt cheap.
Yeah.
20 million in Hollywood is like $20. Like,
didn't we say the menu was like 35 million?
Yeah.
And we called that super low, and because I think Wakanda Forever, we'd say it in the podcast, but it's like 300 million.
Yeah,
so it's stupid amount. Cheap.
Yeah, this movie was made.
We just keep getting lower budget movies each time.
let's go watch like Rubber after this. So yeah, I mean that's just a byproduct of that. But I agree, some of the fight shots looked really cool, but there were many that left a lot to be desired as far as like what I wanted in that. But I didn't think that any of them were so bad that it like made me dislike the movie.
So I had to stretch on a dislike, and that would probably be the biggest thing that sticks out to me.
Going back to like the villains or jokes I put on here, the movie would have been over in like 30 minutes if the villains would shoot their guns.
Yeah.
There's so many times that the villains just went in and like just started instantly shooting people. No hesitation. Boom, you're dead. And then they get to Santa and they just like don't fire.
Yeah. Wait. Guy in red suit. We can't shoot him.
Yeah. And I was like, why aren't we shooting this guy? And it happens multiple times. And I get it's a movie.
Yeah.
But that was one that like you could have had them shoot and miss. And it just seemed weird to me that like they didn't even try.
Do it.
Yeah.
Stormtroopers do it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we're just trying really hard to go.
We're trying to make this a Star Wars movie, apparently.
And then, so I had that one. And then my overall biggest complaint, my only real complaint with this movie is I felt like the pacing in the middle half was a little poor. We keep going back to this conversation over walkie-talkie with Santa and this little girl. And it just felt like it drug on and it happened to like 3 scenes almost back to back with not much happening. I feel like if you could cut out some of that, just a little bit, cut that down to like
that Christmas magic.
Yeah.
She's regaining her trust in Christmas.
Sure.
After
hoping that her parents get together.
After flipping, dropped the bombshell on her. Like, oh yeah, Santa doesn't exist, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Rebuilding her faith in Christmas.
Fair.
I didn't mind it.
For me, it was like, okay, we have a fun action scene with Santa stabbing a guy with a Christmas ornament, and then 10 minutes of walkie-talkie conversation. And then we have an action scene where he fights someone else, and I can't remember who it is, and then it's like another 10-minute conversation. And I was like, okay, I feel like we could have done all this in one, and like I just want to get to people getting smashed in the face with a sledgehammer. Get to that. And maybe on a second viewing, knowing what's coming, I won't mind it as much, but I just felt like it dredged on just a little too long for my liking.
I will say, for watching the previews for it, they made it look like Santa had like magic abilities to communicate with the girl.
Yeah.
And then it turns out he just finds the other walkie-talkie in the basement. I was like, I kind of appreciate how real it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was expecting him to have some like innate ability to communicate with people who were in need.
So I thought about this because I agree with you. I thought from the trailers, this is one of the few movies I actually watched a trailer prior to going in on. I thought he was going to have magic at 2, and then he falls asleep in a massage chair. That's the only reason he's even, which is funny.
Yeah.
The next day I went to a mall and actually almost fell asleep in a massage chair.
It's a sequence of events of why he's there. He falls asleep in the chair. He can't get back up the chimney. The reindeer leave him.
Yeah.
The reindeer leaving him was great.
He's like,
so
Are you kidding me?
Cole's getting to my point ahead of me. So that's the thing. Like, I thought it was going to be magic for the walkie-talkie, but I think the whole it's unexplained Christmas magic was that Christmas magic made it fate that he would be there. Because how realistic is it that he would fall asleep in a massage chair and all these things would happen and that he would coincidentally stumble into it? And you see it again later. He drops his ring and it rolls across the room to a hammer. I think, and then later the reindeer returned at just the right time with the bag. I think the idea is that it was Christmas magic, but just not like connecting the walkie-talkies, just connecting him to being there. Because I did think about that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool that the whole reason he was there and did what he did was because of Christmas magic.
I can see that angle. Didn't think about that at all until just now.
Yeah, you're welcome. But that
thank
being
you.
the reindeer leaving were hilarious.
Yeah.
I also love he's trash talking the reindeer, and then he sees the bag, or he sees something. He's like, "Oh, guys, I can't stay mad at you," and starts hugging
He
them.
brought the bag.
My spare bag, and also Skull Crusher.
Skull Crusher. We need to get that sound clip and just have it for all of our future episodes. Man, so okay, hey, we blew through all my likes and dislikes. I feel like this is probably going to be a shorter episode just because this movie it's simpler.
It's very simple.
It's turn off your brain. Watch Santa murder a man with a sledgehammer.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go to the rubric itself, you guys have any like final closing thoughts?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Nope.
I'm going to pull up this rubric here then, and then we'll start grading. So real quick for plot for me is difficult because it's supposed to be a simple plot, but I feel like it was well done.
Almost overly simple.
It was well done with some pacing issues. So I had trouble. Do I put pacing as director or plot? And then I realized it kind of falls into a bit of both. So while the plot was good for what it needed to do, it wasn't perfect. I'm going to give it a 4. Cool.
I'm going to go plot a 5 because of the type of movie it is. It's not trying to be some deep movie with, have to have all these hidden meanings and you have to really pay attention. Like, simple action movie.
Yeah. Josh?
My plot, I went ahead and give it a 3.
3. So we got a 3, 4, and 5. Why'd you give it a 3?
So there wasn't any major plot holes. It was a very simple movie. But like I said, they could have explained Christmas magic a little bit different. I almost bumped it up to a 4 because of our discussion. I'm just going to hold steady to a 3. And overall, I just felt like it was just an okay story. Like, it was very basic and simple. So, I don't know.
Hey, even if it's wrong, you're entitled to your opinion. Characters. Oh, I didn't even ask. I'm going to backtrack a little bit because before we talk about characters, there were some really good characters. There are also some kind of meh characters who I'm going to ask who your favorite characters, but I'm going to start because I feel like we might have the same one. It was the crazy nutcracker guy who held the family hostage in the living room. The guy was unhinged, and he was easily.
I think his code name was Krampus.
I think it was.
It was great.
I think that was my favorite.
When they were sounding off, it's like gingerbread check, Frosty's here, blah blah blah, like they're doing their names, and then they're like Krampus. He goes ready to some stuff up, and just like he had energy from the moment he entered his scene and pulled out his gun.
He did,
and just the scene where they're about to stick the guy's testicles in the nutcracker. It's like, I ain't doing that. He's like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
He was so overly energetic to do it. He was my favorite character. He actually bumped what probably would have been a 3 up to a 4 for me. The characters were simple, 2-dimensional, but I really liked them. If it hadn't been for just a couple things, maybe with like the child actor and like just a few other small nitpicky things, it would be a perfect for me. It'd be a 5, but I'm going to give it a 4.
I'm going with a 5 for my characters. It's another one of those things where, like, for the movie that they're in, they fit it really well. It's like what we talked about in the intro episode. If you haven't listened to it, go back and check that out. Yeah. But like, and the example you use is Hot Rod.
Yeah.
For those characters, they work well for that movie. They're perfect for that movie. Mm-hmm. For another movie, probably not so much. So for this movie, I think the characters fit it really well for the timing and the pacing and the general just feel of the movie.
Yeah. I think I really only knocked off points. Josh mentioned it. The mom. Is she the president? Is she a senator?
Yeah, who is she?
Is she a secretary for who is she? I don't know. And then I felt like the sister, the brother-in-law, and the son were all kind of 3 the same character. They were just dumb idiots.
Yeah.
So if it hadn't been for like just like the lack of diversity there, I probably would give it a 5 as well, for the same reason, like you said, of it is a dumb movie. But I like, there's just a few things that I thought were too dimensional.
Yeah. So coming into this, I was originally a 2 on characters, but after some discussion, I'm going to bump it up to a 3.
Okay.
So I didn't love the bad guys, the enemies, antagonists didn't have much weight behind them. Again, the mom character just kind of irritated me. And the writing for the non-main characters was lacking. Some of the dialogue was just meh. And so the characters, I just meh. And like you said, those 3 characters, the sister, brother-in-law, and kid, while the brother-in-law was hilarious.
He was.
He basically, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but he basically plays himself.
Yeah.
So he, Cam Gigante is the guy who plays Morgan Steele. I don't even know how to pronounce his name. But I didn't immediately recognize him, but he was basically just a heartthrob from the early 2000s. Played a bunch of sub roles like Micah from Easy A, James Witherdale from Twilight, and so he basically just plays who he's been as an actor, like nobody.
I didn't know that. That's actually really funny.
But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give characters a 3.
Okay, Josh, I was worried that I was gonna be the lowest scorer here. I was like, am I being too harsh on this movie? But okay, I'm glad to hear that like there's someone else who's like also willing to, because I loved it.
It was
so, but I want to be fair.
I can't let my enjoyment of the movie sway how I feel about the other categories.
This is the first time that like that was the reason that like I came up with the idea of the rubric. This is the first time I've had to put it to the test.
Yeah.
Where my enjoyment of the movie, I have to be objective, and it's been tough.
Mm-hmm.
It has been. So on to the next one, direction. In another life, or sorry, like on a different viewing, if I had like known how much or didn't know how much the movie cost to make, I would probably give direction a 3. There were some pacing issues. There were a couple shots, like Cole said, that were just a little wonky. But knowing it had a budget of $20 million and like just
they probably spent most of that on getting
David,
the 2 big main actors.
Yeah. So like I'm gonna give direction. I feel like I'm being basic. I'm giving everything 4s, but yeah, direction for me is a 4. If it had been a big budget movie, I think there's some stuff that would be hard to forgive in this film. But considering how dumb it is and how silly and just fun of a movie it is, and for how cheap they made it, I think that the director did really good with what he had to work with, and that should be respected.
I'm going to give direction I just had it pulled up here. 3.
3? Oh, okay. Tell us why.
Same reason you just said. Like, mainly the shots were just like, especially in the shed sequence, like, although really cool kills, it just seemed like a lot of like the hand-to-hand combat of it was just up close. Like, I can't even tell what's going on. Just see a big blur across the screen. And it's also dark in there. It doesn't help either.
There were also people in that shed, going back to continuity, that fired their guns and didn't alert the other side of like the 30-foot shed. And it was like, wait, did they not hear that?
Yeah. So direction, I'm also going to give it a 4. Kind of touch on the writing. Some of the writing could have been better, especially in some of the character-to-character dialogue. I did enjoy the score of mainly Christmas music. A lot of that's probably in the public domain, so that's probably why they used it. I liked the shed scene. That was one of my pluses on direction. Overall, I felt it was good, but it wasn't perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Continuity. This was the hardest one to score for me. Mm-hmm. In a more serious movie, continuity probably would have got a 3 because of, like I said, there's a couple big plot holes that just don't make sense. But considering that this movie was supposed to be a dumb, stupid Christmas movie, where when we keep saying it, you can just shut off your brain, I have to do that. I have to shut off my brain, Josh. I just need to shut it off, and I'm going to bump what would have been a 3 up to a 4. So I'm going to be mostly 4s across the board today, it seems like.
For my continuity, I also am giving it a 4. My biggest thing, kind of like it kind of bothered me on it, was so they break the dad of the little girl, the dad's finger. They break it in, like they break it when they're using Nutcracker.
Oh, they didn't ever bring that back.
Well, no, it's not broke. It's clearly not broke. Like when he has his hands up, like it's not bent off to the side or anything. Like that does not look like a broken finger.
And he never like fumbles with it ever again.
That was my big thing.
Dumb, stupid
I
movie.
Did not catch that.
Cole, quit turning on my brain.
I'm like that one. I just haven't noticed. I looked at it saying like it's a gory movie. Like surely they're gonna have some disgusting looking finger. Like why does it look normal?
I didn't catch that either. That is a good point. I'm gonna stick with my 4. I'm glad we didn't discuss that beforehand, or else that might have affected. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with my 4. But yeah, that's a really good point.
Continuity, I'm also a 4. So they didn't like directly set up a sequel or a prequel, but I think they did a good enough job that they could come back and do either one and it would do well.
Mm-hmm.
I like your idea that you mentioned at Applebee's.
Which one?
The attack on
since then.
Well, like you said, like have it take place at the North Pole, and
that was.
I said that was him.
Or that was
my
you.
idea,
That was
Cole.
Yeah.
How about you check yourself before you?
I
It was someone's
agreed that
idea.
it was also a good idea.
It was someone's idea that was not mine.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that and remember that comment for a moment later. So okay, so you're giving it a 4.
Yeah. 4. Something I thought they kind of just stumbled into some major events. Like they didn't set up a lot of stuff, especially the kill squad. Like there was no premonition that they were working together at all, which I guess maybe added to some of it, but I don't know. It didn't feel like it really set it up much. It's just like, oh, here they are and they're heel turning. Like, I don't know.
It made for one funny moment where the actor escapes the house and the way in which he does it by screaming parkour after punching a guy in the face and then jumping out a window.
Barely clears the couch.
He like knocks the pillow off as he's going over the couch.
One of the funniest moments of the movie, honestly. He escapes the house, makes it outside to the kill squad.
Yeah.
And which we think is good at this point. They ask him a couple questions and then they immediately kill him.
Yeah.
It made for a mildly interesting twist, but that was about the only benefit. But I think the kill squad being evil makes more problems for the story than it does the comedic elements.
Yep.
So I don't know. Yeah, it does seem really odd to me. They also were overkill for a kill squad of teams that like, okay, so you want it to be a secret. This is a hush hush military operation. Why was there 60 of them?
They're the like extraction team, Tyler.
You could have brought in like 10 guys who were in on it and like, or just not even like when the kill squad thing goes off, just turn it off, right? Just to have like the one evil leader guy show up.
Yeah. Are
all those soldiers getting a cut of that 300 million? Like I said, it just leads to more problems than it's worth in the long run. Okay. So continuity 4 for Josh. Last category, enjoyment, easy 5. I loved this film. I thought it was hilarious. And even though our scores are probably going to put it at like a B, enjoyment wise, it's much higher than that. I really liked this film.
Yeah.
I'm also giving it a 5. I mean, it's everything I wanted and more. It's
yeah.
From the first time I saw the trailer, I'm like, this is gonna be stupid, and I'm here for it.
But I'm ready.
It's stupid in all the best ways.
Yeah.
Josh, can I assume that you're a 5?
You can. I'm a 5. I put on here, I enjoyed every minute of the movie. I may have been nitpicky on some things, but just like from start to finish, I laughed until I cried. I thought David Harbour did a fantastic job at Santa Claus, and especially a killing Santa Claus.
Oh yeah.
And I liked the death scenes. I thought they were clever and unique. For
sure. So I'm glad we're 5s across the board on that. No need for debate. That altogether puts my score at an 84%, Cole's at an 88%, and Josh's at a 76, giving us a total movie rubric score of 82.6%. Might round that up to 83 on paper, just when we post that later. But yeah, so all right, lower B, which is surprising to me because leaving the theater, it's why I made the rubric. Leaving the theater, I would have given that a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And then as I sat down and I started objectively trying to plug in scores for stuff, it's like, oh, you know what? That maybe isn't, so.
Can't be blinded by our enjoyment.
Yeah.
Sure you can.
So we can. Yeah, you truly can. So I told you to put a pin in that. My closing question for us was, because we talked about it at Applebee's, you need to sponsor us. We're going to talk about you a lot.
We're name dropping Applebee's like crazy.
If
pick us up for a sponsor.
Free half price apps for the year.
If you don't sponsor us, I'm going to talk about how mediocre your Cheeto wings are in detail. I'm going to put those through the movie rubric. Yeah. Do we want a sequel? I think that would be a great world for a sequel. I think it was a very unique take on Santa.
Mhm.
And, you know, we brought up not everything needs a sequel. I 100% agree. But I want a sequel for this. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I mean, as cool as it would be, I think they should just leave it alone. We don't really get a lot of like those cool standalone movies.
Mhm.
Because eventually you add so much content and stuff that it could end up you could have a dud of a sequel, and it could also affect how people view the first movie, which this movie was great. So I think they should just leave it alone. We don't get enough standalone. Not everything needs a sequel. Just let it be its own thing.
Counter argument. Does Jingle All the Way 2 with Larry the Cable Guy ruin Jingle All the Way for you?
I mean, it's associated with it.
Is it though? Most people forget it exists.
Yeah, I forgot.
But also-
it's erased
Yeah.
from my memory.
Here's the thing: if it's David Harbour though, and it's a dud though. If Arnold was in Jingle All the Way 2, would people think of it the same way?
Possibly. It is. That's a fair point.
I ride the fence. Like, I would love to see a sequel or even a prequel. Like, how did David Harbour's Santa become Santa?
Mhm.
Like, we obviously know he was a Nordic like plunderer, but like, how did the Christmas magic become
Yeah.
for him? And I would also like to see a sequel too, like see where he goes from here, like where that family goes and stuff. But I could also live if I never saw a sequel or prequel again.
I don't know how I would enjoy, or even like if I was like, I try to put myself in like a writer's shoes, how I would write a prequel while keeping the spirit of this movie in check. But I do think you could do, okay, someone hates Santa Claus, and Santa very clearly, and this is the pitch I made at Applebee's, by the way. Santa doesn't hide who he is. Everyone knows where he lives. If a military, like let's say like a dictator, wanted to take out Santa for any reason, I think we've established that elves are canon, Mrs. Claus is canon, and also super old, and that Santa is now, he has Skull Crusher. He is now ready to kill. I think that it would be really cool to have him like taking on like a larger group, or even that larger group trying to take him on at the North Pole, and him and his elves doing a real Home Alone. Can you imagine Home Alone with like 100 elves and Santa at the North Pole, like taking on like, let's say like Putin is like on his way up there.
Boy.
Like that'd be funny. I'm there for it.
It would be funny. Yeah. I just don't know if it'd have, I don't know.
Yeah,
It could work.
It's one of those things where it's like, you've done all this stuff. Like, where are you gonna go from here? Like, as far as like keeping the kills fresh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you saw a lot of cool kills and they're very unique.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just rehash because
Reuse them.
I mean, like that's not unique anymore.
Mhm.
Yeah. My original thought was, when I went into this movie, I thought that Santa was going to be like John Wick, and then he actually was very reluctant, and he isn't a crazy skilled fighter until like the last third when he gets his hammer. He's really kind of fumbling through it. My original thought was, okay, well, let's do it again, but this time Santa is John Wick. But then I thought, okay, that's a different movie though. That's not as funny. That loses the spirit of this film. So
Could even do a Santa Claus Taken. Somebody could kidnap Mrs. Claus.
what if they kidnap Santa and Mrs. Claus comes for him?
Who's gonna be
Ooh.
Mrs. Claus though in our?
Who are we
canon
going to
here?
cast as Mrs.
I
Claus?
don't know who you'd cast as Mrs. Claus.
That is a tough one. I'm trying to think. I feel like she needs to be. David Harbour is like middle-aged, a little under middle-aged.
How old's
40s.
David Harbour?
He's like, I feel like he's a little under middle-aged.
I'm checking out his age.
What do you consider middle aged?
You know what? My middle age is actually, I've been told, is wrong. I look at the statistic where men live to be like
He's
60,
he's
65, and then I'm like,
47.
okay, so 30 is middle-aged. Like, we're pushing it.
We're pushing it, yeah.
I know that
Yeah.
people don't consider middle-aged to be like until
I'd
like
say 45
to 50.
yeah.
That's most people. But then I look at how what the mortality rate is for dudes, and it's like, well, I'm 3 years out, bro. So, okay, so Mrs. Claus needs to be 30s
How
or 40s.
Did you say he was
47.
47?
So she needs to be 30s or 40s, because let's be real. If he was a barbarian, like Nordman pillaging, he would have taken a younger bride. Probably illegally younger than him. If we're being realistic here, I'd like to think that he turned over a new leaf before meeting Mrs. Claus. But if he's just got some like blonde bimbo from a shore in Norway, that she's probably like 12 when he picked her up. So age gap, she keeps coming to mind just because of the movie we just watched. But I'm thinking of like Nordic looking women and Anya Taylor-Joy. Yeah, because of the menu. She's coming to my mind. And then I also just watched the new Mario trailer the other day, which I need to stop. That was a mistake because I really liked the trailer. And I was like, man, I wish I hadn't watched that so I could have seen that fresh.
I got my pick locked in. It's Wonder Woman herself, Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
I think
Yeah.
she'd be a good Mrs. Claus. Be
I
kind of
think-
a bad A.
I think she could. That's a really good choice. That's a solid Mrs.
I
Claus.
can see her just going through, just smoking people, just slaying whatever creatures, people that are raiding Santa's cottage or whatever the plot for our sequel that's not even been approved yet.
By the way, if any of these get made, I feel like we should get royalties. Like we're writing
Some
a movie
casting
right now.
rights,
yeah. So Josh, who's your pick?
I'm gonna go Scarlett Johansson.
Okay.
That should be
I
good.
think she's actiony, but also
Yeah.
can be a little reserved, and so she'd be a good closet bad A.
Huh, Claus.
agree.
It.
Oh,
I didn't even get to
Did you just
read
ho
my.
ho?
I didn't even get to read my pun. So the synopsis I found that I was going to read at the beginning says an elite team of mercenaries breaks into a family compound on Christmas Eve, taking everyone hostage inside. However, they aren't prepared for surprise combatant. Santa Claus is on the grounds, and he's about to show you why this Nick is no saint. But that's not even what I was going to read.
that was like an IMDb pun.
That was an IMDb synopsis pun.
So what's
Bring
your
it
pun?
Actually, it wasn't even my pun either. This was a Rotten Tomatoes critics
Josh, what is your
consensus.
pun?
Josh, have some original content, but read it anyways.
Okay, so the critics' consensus from Rotten Tomatoes is Violent Night isn't as wildly entertaining as its concept might suggest, but for those seeking a harder-edged holiday fare, it might be a ho lot of fun.
I want to die. That
It's
was
not as bad as
terrible.
your Minnesota joke.
We don't talk about the
Oh,
Minnesota
boy.
joke. Oh gosh, I'm not even going to try to explain that one on but it wouldn't be as funny if I try to explain.
It
this
wasn't funny
podcast.
then.
It was
Okay,
hilarious.
I mean, it was good in the time.
okay, now I feel like we have to because
We'll close out the episode with a nice Minnesota joke here.
Well, before I explain the Minnesota joke, Josh, what were those? Because I wanted to come back to it. What
Okay.
were the? So we just gave this movie an 82%. What were the Rotten Tomato and Metacritic scores?
So Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter is 70%. which
Okay.
I'm assuming is their
That's
critic
critics.
reviews.
That's critics, yeah.
The audience score, however, when I looked at this earlier, was 90%.
That's normal.
So the audience loves it a lot more than critics, and this translates well to the Metacritic score as well. The Meta score, which is also critics, was 55%,
Ugh.
and that's only that's 32 critic reviews. Their user score only 16 ratings, so you can't really take too much weight on it, but 6.8 out of 10.
Okay, that's still lower than I would expect.
IMDb, now this has a over 5,000 IMDb users, rated at a 7.1 out of 10.
Okay,
So
we're kind of somewhere in the middle there. I think it's funny. I hate / love whenever I see critics hate on a movie that I think is phenomenal, but then the audience goes in there and they love it, and the audiences give it like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. And then I was thinking, as you're reading those scores, I was like, we're kind of being the critics here. We gave it a lower score than like the audience did, but it seems like maybe we didn't.
yeah, it seems like if you weighted it all out, it would be somewhere around
Yeah.
70,
Okay.
80%.
Have I talked long enough to not have to explain the Minnesota
No.
joke? Okay.
I don't know. I don't think Cole's going to let you leave.
Josh was going up to Minnesota. This is the joke. This is why I hate that Cole brought it up now that I have to explain it. Josh said, I'm going to Minnesota. And I said, hey, you got to be careful. There's dudes swimming in cola up there. And he said, what? And then I said, yeah, there's men in soda. And I don't know why I was inspired to make that joke in the moment. There's no way I could have premeditated that either. Because I was like,
totally off the cuff.
someone asked me later, like, that's really bad. Did you like write that? And I was like, there's no way I could have wrote that. That's the sad part of it. That's just where my brain went.
I then congratulated Tyler on becoming a father.
Oh yeah. I had to check with, my wife, be like, you're not pregnant, are you?
I just made the dad joke of a century.
yeah, I was like checking out the neighbor's lawn the other day. I was like, how'd they get those lines? Like
It's winter. There's no lines in yards.
Not when I made the joke.
You said
Josh.
the other day.
I don't as if I'm past
Oh,
tense.
That was in January, though, so you can't
Yeah.
say
you
that.
shut your mouth.
It's been a year ago.
don't listen.
I'm going to put your whole story through the movie rubric right
Oh
now.
my gosh.
Continuity, 1. Enjoyment, 2.
Oh, boy.
You enjoyed that joke a lot more, Cole. Don't
You
lie.
still talk about it to this day, so you had to.
Because it was that bad.
You
I
bring it
think
up
I
more
was
than anyone.
No,
crying
here's-
at my computer when you said that.
Here's the thing. The Room is bad, but we still talk about it.
That's true. Worst movie ever.
No, don't you dare.
It's clearly, you know what?
That's a specific Star Wars. I'm kidding. Alrighty.
Well,
Back
that
to the
debate
Star
when it
Wars.
I think we're going in a circle here. Any closing thoughts, guys, before we wrap it up?
Go
No.
see the movie.
Yeah, go see it.
Check out our other episodes.
Yes,
Let us know what you think.
Go
And-
get some Applebee's.
100%.
Half-priced appetizers.
Applebee's, please sponsor us. We are about to record a Christmas movie tier list, and that's going to probably go up about the same time that this one does. So if you like this one, go check out that. Go see where we rate other Christmas movies, and then do we have a next movie on the horizon? There might be a bit of a
Megan,
lull,
well,
Well,
Avatar's coming
Avatar comes out the 16th.
so it's probably going to be Avatar
probably
next.
Avatar.
out. Or Megan if we wait
Or
longer.
we discussed Guardians Christmas. If we
Guardians.
want to keep the Christmas theme rolling for December.
Okay, so we've got Guardians, Avatar,
Megan.
Megan, and then the Mario Kart movie, or not Mario Kart, the Mario movie.
There was Mario Kart in the
which has
trailer.
carts in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's anything else you would like to hear us talk about and try to sound smart about, let us know in the comments.
Try even harder not to sound dumb.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. If you've made it this far, we hope you have a good night and a Merry Christmas, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks.